Let's get to Gasparino, who's back with us right now. And we were talking earlier, Charlie, about the market. And,
market came back.
And, and the comeback. And we haven't talked a ton about politics today. Just general midterms and everything, not only how they relate to the markets, but the president's hitting the road. He's going to be in North Carolina for some rallies. I wonder, remember Kudlow made those comments. These are the candidates, by the way, that he's supporting. Mark Harris on the right hand of your screen, the Republican, who's in a very, very close race. That is in one of the big districts in North Carolina. And the second race that he's following in North Carolina is another very close House race, the candidate there, Ted Budd, that he's trying to support. So they're desperate now, the Republicans, to try to keep this House of Representatives. If we talked a month ago or so, you would have said you'd give them no chance. But now, maybe a little momentum, and they might do it.
I mean, I think the Kavanaugh hearings energized both the Republican base and, the key, swing voter in this election were suburban white women.
So they tell us.
So they tell us. And they were trending to the Democrats a lot. And that's why people thought maybe even the Senate was in play. It was weird. After Kavanaugh, those polls showed that suburban white women started inching back into the GOP corner. They literally, listen, I could just tell you anecdotally, when I speak to suburban white women, I have a house in the suburbs of New York, women that are Republican, generally leaning, they do not want their son to be put through what Kavanaugh was put through based on what he put in his high school. Yeah, it
definitely added some energy to the Republican base.
People thought about this. Do you want your son, they were like, do you want your son treated, do you want his high school yearbook becoming an issue in some sort of a job
well, I was going to say is that those people might not have been the big pro-Trump Republicans.
Oh, they're not. Totally not.
Now
they actually think a lot of these women despise Trump's rhetoric and coarseness. They think he's disgusting in many ways.
So if they show up to vote,
the other half of the coin isn't so great either, and they're questioning that. I will say this, that it looks like the president is worried about markets as he's attacking Powell, that may somehow hurt GOP chances. It looks like he's worried about this, obviously, the bomb issue. He called it bomb stuff the other day.
He put the word bomb in quotes this morning, which also a lot of people talked about, which for whatever it was worth. But what do you?
I think he said bomb stuff.
Yeah, I believe you're right. But in terms of the relationship between kind of midterms and markets, I know Larry Kudlow brought it up.
I don't care.
I haven't heard it from anyone in the investment community. I've heard it from a lot of political people.
I mean, Larry is a good friend of mine, a smart dude, but he's in a political role right now. I think if you were looking at the polls, you would say that it's going to show gridlock. Republicans likely to keep the Senate. Could probably lose the House, but could make a run at it, and you have a Republican presidency. That is called gridlock. Markets generally like that, so I don't think he can make the case that the markets are reacting to.
Also, it was a known event, right? Like not known, an expected event.
Listen,
like the Democratic House is something we've been expecting for months.
And by the way, the fact that you have gridlock and a check with the Republican Senate is a good thing, the markets would believe. Now, I think what the markets are trading off of are tariff fears. Yeah. That's going to impact corporate earnings, higher interest rates. I still don't like this GDP report. It wasn't enough bang for the buck.
The internals, not the headline.
And by the way, if they don't sustain decent GDP growth, if we don't do that, we're going to get higher deficits. Okay, if we get higher deficits, we've got to issue more debt. If you issue more debt, interest rates on the long end go up. So, I mean, this is what people are trading off of. Still, corporate earnings are decent. So remember, that's where the debate goes. Will they remain decent? Are they enough to maintain profit margins high enough to reflect these levels of the market? And that's all. That's what the markets are trading off of. They're not trading off of whether.
Right, but it's not only the earnings, obviously.
And that the Dems are going to win the House.
Right. I think we brought this up earlier on not only on the profit side, but on the sales side now. Is that's the one thing you can't really play around with as much, right?
Yeah, and yes, absolutely. And here's the other thing that's interesting. You do have a global slowdown.
Right.
We live in a global economy. As much as you want to say this is Fortress America, that will have impact on corporate earnings too. So all this is being debated.
Well,
and
yeah,
digested.
you talk about a slowdown in China, right? Like everyone brings it up, and sometimes it gets brought up in the wrong context. At least I think it's the wrong context, where it's like, well, China's slowing down, so it's almost overly simplistic, like we win, they lose. Yeah, but what about all the U.S. companies that are doing business in China and rely on that?
We ship stuff. Listen, they buy a lot of our stuff. They buy a lot of agricultural products from us. I mean, it's not a good thing for them to slow down. They also buy a lot of our treasury debt. So remember, them slowing down is not a good thing necessarily. Maybe it'll lead to a better trade pact. I mean, that's one of the things you have to.
I don't even know if that's the case.
Look at the intangibles. If Trump can do a trade deal with China, markets will like that.
Of course.
I'm just saying that.
But we're nowhere close to that point. No one thinks we are. Like every indication we get, whether it's a Wall Street Journal story earlier in the week or just anecdotal.
And tariffs are impacting earnings. I mean, I'm telling you, Ford.
Caterpillar.
Say what you
3M.
want about Ford not going to a different vehicle type. I'm not an expert at the auto, their auto market, but I do know that their margins are being impacted by higher tariffs.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I interviewed the CFO. He said it as much. Now, they put up a good number despite that, which was really kind of the story of Ford's quarter, is that they were able to fight through it. I also thought the Texas Instruments report this week, even though they said there's no direct impact from tariffs, was telling, because the slowdown in demand, where's that coming from?
And by the way, if we're dealing with individual stocks, two names to look at, I think next week it'll be interesting. Both are reporting earnings. It's Tuesday and Wednesday. I can't remember which one's Tuesday. I can't remember which one is Wednesday. I believe Ford is Tuesday. No,
Ford we already have.
GE is Tuesday.
Right.
And isn't Ford Wednesday?
No, we just got the Ford report. So
I would just say this with GE. Watch whether they cut the dividend. We've reported that they were considering it. It took the stock down. They have a new CEO in there. He doesn't burn any bridges. It's not on his watch to cut it, and it makes every bit of sense to cut it because of his cash flow situation.
We got to run 30 seconds, whatever it is. So it's the biggest thing you hear from people when you talk to them. Is it tariffs? Is it the dollar? Is it global economy?
Tariffs
overall.
Tariffs and interest rates.
Rates. Yeah.
Impacting the market. I think Jonas said it earlier.
He did. Yeah. He's a genius, that Jonas.
Yeah, smart guy, right? Where did we get him from? Is he married?
The larger question is, where do we get you from?